Hello, I would like to call the Westwood School Committee meeting of Tuesday, April 14th to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to recognize Westwood Media Center, who is recording this meeting for later viewing on its platforms. There's a select board meeting going on at the same time. I think they're live streaming that. So we're not live streaming tonight, we're just recording for later viewing. And as always, we thank Westwood Media Center for everything they do for us and for the town. So moving straight into the superintendent's report, I am turning it over to you, Tim.
Sure, thank you. And as we start off every meeting, just a little spin around what's happening around the district. So starting with our elementary schools WPS Math League that had their annual inter-elementary math meet featuring team and individual rounds that was open in students in grades 3 through 5. So happy to have our elementary math meet going. Next, it's Spirit Day at Martha Jones, or was Spirit Day at Martha Jones, where teachers dressed like students and students dressed like teachers. And then on the right, we have the MJ Math League winners from grade 3. Continuing on was the Downey 5th grade band concert that included fun concert t-shirts that students designed and created in their art class, an opportunity for some work across disciplines there. At Sheehan, our 5th grade students took center stage in their recent production of Annie. The week before the show, the Sheehan community was treated to a special sneak performance just for students and for staff. At Thurston, we have a team of 8th graders who placed second overall and second in the Math Quiz Bowl in the 2026 Middle School Tenacity Challenge at the end of March. The Tenacity Challenge assessed the literary analysis, leadership example, and math proficiency of competing teams from across the state. So congrats to our team from Thurston.
Great.
At the high school, we have seniors Hank Murray, Elizabeth Lowney, and Charles Goodman, who did a presentation for the Massachusetts School Library Association about how to host a poetry slam at your school. And then on the right, Legislative Council leaders Kevin Bai and Tia Bagnati represented WHS on the Hill at Student Government Day, which I know Joanna will talk about another opportunity at the State House a little bit later on during liaison reports. But at Student Government Day, they debated legislation through simulated committee hearings and Senate sessions. So, and then the last one that I want to share, and I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin to talk about the event that we held last night at Pine Hill.
Yes, last night we were able to have the inaugural, hopefully first of a long-standing tradition at Pine Hill, a math and literacy evening for families and students. It was funded through our Title I grant this year. A big part of Title I is family engagement, and so we were able to use some of that grant funding to help get materials and have a really fun event last night. So we had a team of teachers, and I want to say it was probably 13 or 15 teachers who took on coordinating, planning, coming up with several different stations for students and families to interact with. They were all math and literacy based, and students came in through the STEM porch at Pine Hill and then made their way up and down the hallways visiting different stations, getting stamps in their book and a prize at the end. It was so much fun to see the students coming with their families. I got to be at the welcome desk and welcoming folks in, and a couple people made it out my direction too, and every family as they were leaving, they said, "This was fabulous, we had so much fun, thank you for this." So the teachers did a fantastic job, and now we're talking about how can we do this at all the other schools? Can we take it on the road, basically? So I was really happy to be a part of it last night, and our families and students really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I thank you to you and to the whole team for putting this together. I wish I would have been able to spend more time there last night, but we had a previous engagement at the Long Range Financial Planning Committee meeting, which they almost weigh each other equally. Yeah, you definitely won the coin toss on that one.
Definitely won.
Not that long range financial planning isn't important. Don't get me wrong, but that was a way more exciting event.
One had a puppy and one did not.
Yeah, that is true. Yes. So thank you. That's our spin around the district. Before we move on to the principal search timeline, I actually do want to talk about a previous search that we had done, and so I'd like to invite Stacy Mahoney to come forward. Stacy, as the committee knows and as the community knows, was recently hired to be the new principal at the Sheehan Elementary School. Stacy is currently the principal of the Fannie E. Proctor School in Northborough. and we are really excited to have her here and introduce her here to the Westwood community. So I'll turn the floor over to you, Stacy.
Excellent. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I'm so excited to be here to, see folks again who were part of my interview process and just kind of be back in the mix here in Westwood, kind of reintroducing myself to the community, to my colleagues. So just really excited to be here and join school committee.
So again, we're very happy, I don't know if the committee would like to say anything, but we're so excited to have you coming on board. And I know from messages you've already put out, you're going to be meeting with the Sheehan PTA shortly and coming to some other community events
Yes,
this spring as well.
Exactly. So I'm trying to do kind of a slow transition in the spring. Obviously, still working in my current position, but really trying to integrate myself within the community with some evening events. I'm going to the last PTA meeting of the school year. I'll be going to the Culture Festival as well as the incoming kindergarten parent information session. So just really looking forward to being able to meet families and students and everybody else within the community.
Well, we very much appreciate you being here tonight.
Yeah.
And welcome, and we're super excited to have you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Stacy. So on the heels of a successful search for the Sheehan principal, happy to talk this evening about the high school principal search timeline. I know this was this had already gone out to the community sort of generally previously. We actually want to talk through the timeline here publicly tonight because we've not done that previously. We're going to run this process very similar to other recent leadership searches, basically with the same kind of cadence and timeline that we just had with the Sheehan search. There's a screening team that has already been assembled that will be responsible for initial resume review, identifying candidates for first-round interviews, recommending finalist candidates for further interviews. That includes representation from all the constituencies. And I'm sorry, I actually forgot to include students on this slide. And so we do have student representation on the high school principal search committee as well, too. The final interview process will include site visits here to the high school to meet with staff, families, and with students. So some of these dates have already happened. On March 30th, we sent out the invitation for people to express their interest in the screening team and feedback about what we should be looking for. We released the job posting and description on April 2nd. The deadline for applications was April 7th, and we notified members of the screening team on April 9th. And the kickoff meeting for that team just happened a couple of hours ago, earlier this evening. So thank you to all that are participating on the team. The job posting closes the Monday after vacation week. We did that with intentionality, knowing that people that may be sitting in current roles who are busy trying to get the day-to-day done as we're leading up to vacation to give them time during that week to finish their application processes. So then the screening team will do a resume review that week immediately following vacation. They'll schedule initial interviews for the week after, that's the week of May 4th. Do finalist site visits and interviews the week of May 11th. The week of May 18th would be reference checking. That would potentially include visits to finalist candidates' districts to visit them on site. I know, for example, we took a team to Stacy School in Northborough to see what life is like in the school of where the candidates currently exist. And then looking to make a public announcement of the new hire before the end of May. So this will allow us to be able to do the transition, I think, smoothly. But we have not shared this timeline with this level of detail previously publicly, so wanted to have the opportunity to do that tonight. So I'm not sure if there's any thoughts or comments from the committee, but just wanted to share that this evening.
Remind me, who's chairing or co-chairing?
The co-chairs of the committee are Caitlin Ahern, our assistant superintendent, and Kate Holmes,
Okay.
who's our English department head at the high school.
Great.
All right, thank you. The next thing is I do want to give an update. We don't have slides for these things, so I'll just leave chair's update for right now. Just a brief update on kindergarten registration. As we know from our previous discussion about buffer zones, the first sort of decision point around buffer zones is for all registrations received by May 1st, and then we will notify families by May 15th around the buffer zone conversation. As of the end of last week, we had 176 kindergarten registrations already received. That's a little ahead of our pace from last year, so if there's been a little impetus for people to get their registrations in, that's a good thing. And we have preliminarily met. It's premature to say anything sort of publicly about that. While our goal is to notify, while our stated goal is to notify families by May 15th, we hope to be able to do that the week earlier because the sooner we can do it, the better. So we want to be sort of aimed and ready to go so that there can be a period between families being notified and kindergarten orientation night starting. And then we'll do the rolling buffer zone analysis as we need to from there. I will say the preliminary numbers that are coming in are consistent with us being able to meet the budgetary requirements we set out that initiated the buffer zone conversation. So we'll have more to say about this at our meeting in May, but at least want to say, as of right now, from a budgetary perspective, we look to be in a good shape. And the potential implementation of buffer zones is consistent with that approach that we've taken. So happy to answer any other questions at this point about that. All right. And then the last thing, other than the tech quarterly update, which is just on there by law, we need to provide quarterly updates. I know that the committee has been linked in on that. Just a brief update about the statement of interest for Thurston. So I'm happy to report that we finished the writing of it. That final writing review happened earlier this afternoon. We just need to officially upload documentation of the votes. I know, Maya, you signed something earlier tonight for the documentation of the school committee vote. We need to have a similar certified note from the town clerk about the select board vote. And then we basically just need the signatures in the documents. So the deadline is, I think, 11:59 p.m. on Friday night. We'll certainly been well before the deadline. I've made sure that all the signatures we need are people that are available to sign. So I'm excited to have that part done. I'm excited to be done with the writing part. And we look forward to submitting that and hopefully having successful further conversations with the SBA.
And once everybody submits, do you actually know who submitted or how many there are?
We do not immediately. So it's sort of,
State isn't subject to FOIA, is that
well,
why?
I mean,
Go for it.
somebody could do that.
Okay.
I would suggest that somebody from the community doing that may not put us in good stead as they're analyzing. But you know, the way the process works to the sort of best of my knowledge and the best of what they share publicly is from the initial submission of SOIs. They then, and the board may or may not announce at their spring meetings how many SOIs they've received and then how many are core projects versus repair projects. So I don't believe repair projects are up for submission because that's every other year now. Is that then they would do a paper review of those SOI submissions and identify which SOIs would be subject to a senior site study, which is essentially they've met sort of a paper screen, and then they would want to go out to the district, to the schools, and look at what the conditions on the ground are. Yep. Have conversations with the folks on the ground around what that looks like, and then ultimately they use the paper review, they use the site studies. And quite frankly, they need to use what they have for their available budget, right? They couldn't take on 10 high school projects, you know, in large schools simultaneously because they have financial capacity. But they use that to put together what they would submit for their December board meeting. The December board meeting is generally not a surprise. Districts know prior to that time whether or not they're being invited into the pipeline. So the first sort of trigger point to know where we stand would be a senior site study or knowing that senior site studies are taking place. And then we would know at some point in the fall where we stand relative to the invitation eligibility.
Can you
All right.
remind the community what I know in previous meetings you've talked a little bit about like what you think our odds are, or you know how the numbers have changed over time. It's no longer several. We're not talking about dozens and dozens of submissions at this anymore.
Yeah.
We once were.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly has been a decrease in the number of SOIs for core projects that have been submitted to the state over the last 3-4 years, and whether or not that is related to the economy in general. I don't necessarily know the causes, but the last cycle there were only 27 SOIs submitted for core projects. 10 years ago there were 90 something, and of those 27, 15 were accepted. Okay. Those are pretty good numbers. Certainly as we have written the SOI and we've identified 3 priority areas. One is overcrowding, one is essentially the building systems failing and what the impact of the education is, and 3 is not being able to deliver essentially modern educational standards based upon the limitations of the building. If I were reading this as a layperson who didn't know anything about Thurston, certainly we talk about the issues we've had with school closures caused by building failures. We've talked about the issues we've had with programs that are in spaces that were designed for a junior high school in 1939 and not for a middle school in 2026, right? So we talk about all these things. I would certainly think at a bare minimum we are in a good place to be able to see a senior site study, and I would venture to say that I am optimistic. I'm certainly not certain, right, that we don't know what the funding procedures are. But I would certainly hope that we get people into Thurston, we get a chance to see that. That would put us in good shape with the MSBA. with the caveat that they also pay attention to like what goes on in the community as a whole. And so I think that there are, I think we have a successful track record in building schools in this community, which I think also helps us as well. So hopefully that provides some context around it.
Thank you.
When you refer to what's going on in the community as a whole, are you referencing like other capital needs in the community and the odds of a school getting passed?
Yeah, I mean, I will say the same thing that I said at the select board meeting when we presented the SOI, and then May, if you want to add to that, because we had this conversation at the select board. We know that FS1 is out there in the community, and there are significant, I mean, I drive down High Street every day on the way to work, and I see what's out in front of FS1 right now. If the town demonstrates prior to the MSBA making a decision that there is a commitment to addressing other capital needs in the town, and the town has a plan for how to address those other capital needs, and we actually talk about that in the SOI, that we're looking at a comprehensive facilities plan. Some of the conversation we actually had last night at Long Range Financial Planning, that's written into the SOI. I think that puts us in good stead because the MSBA is interested in investing projects that they believe will get passed. And so if the town demonstrates a commitment to a plan for investing long-term in their capital projects, that helps our chances.
I think that's right. I think also, were we to talk to the MSBA about it, if that came up, we could also point to the Long Range Financial Planning Committee and say, the town is taking very seriously what are the long-term needs of the town, how is the town prioritizing them, and what is the town doing about community buy-in. This is a long process. We're not going to hear until December. So if there is another FS1 vote and it's successful, that would be helpful probably. But I think, the success of Pine Hill is very helpful for us. And we would just have to provide context around the FS1 votes.
I know, I think it was a couple years ago, and we probably talked about it in a meeting. I think the Globe did a piece about like the equity piece of funding through the MSBA. Do you know if anything changed after that? Are they taking like towns' demographics into account?
Yeah, so they already take towns' demographics into
they do?
account
Okay.
They
in
already
terms
do.
of what the reimbursement formula is.
Got it.
Right, so I don't remember, essentially there's a maximum threshold, it's a minimum threshold for funding percentage, but it's a sliding scale based upon the socioeconomics of the town, right? So we would anticipate getting a smaller percentage of funding than other communities that have more socioeconomic need. That being said, it's still significant funding, right? And so there's a reason we're approaching the MSBA.
Sure. Thanks.
Anything else on the statement of interest? Okay.
All right, that is it for the superintendent's report this evening, so
All right,
turn it
thank
back to
you. Moving into the chair update. So first thing I wanted to mention is that we do have our office hours coming up. This is on Monday, May 11th, 8:30 to 10 a.m. This is a morning session, so it's 8:30 to 10 a.m. in the Westwood High School Professional Development Room in Central Office. Tony and I will be there at that one, right?
Looking forward.
And so I think a registration, an email will go out shortly with just sign up. We ask that you just, if you're planning on coming, just give us an indication of what you want to talk about so we can come prepared with the right people and the right info. Certainly not required. We're not going to kick you out the door if you don't sign up, but it does help us prepare if we get a little bit of a heads up on what people want to talk about. But we hope to see as many people there as we can. I think those sessions are really helpful. They're helpful for us. I'm hopeful they're helpful for the community. And that is, again, Monday, May 11th. The other thing I wanted to touch on, as Tim mentioned, we had Long Range Financial Planning Committee last night, and I encourage people to go and watch that meeting. It was recorded by Westwood Media Center. So the bulk of the conversation last night discussed an RFQ going out, or an RFP going out for a consultant who's going to take that ginormous facility study that both the town and the school combined facility study that Doran Whittier did, distill it down into something that the end product will hopefully come up with almost like a suggested plan, and how we communicate and engage with the community about what those priorities should be, how we're going to fund them, and we're really going to hopefully, get a consultant on board who's going to help with that community outreach. And that will include things like surveys, it will include in-person charrettes, where we put up things on the wall and people put stickies and say, that's what I want, no, that's what I want. We really want to, the Long Range Financial Planning Committee, and we have the co-chair here, Nancy, is really interested in learning from the community. I think really two things. First of all, what capital projects, once we've identified them per the report, which ones are a priority for the community and how we want to pay for those things. Because I think I've said this a million times, we can come up with the best project in the world, but if the community doesn't want to fund it, it's going nowhere. So we really need to bring the community in. The Long Range Financial Planning Committee is very much aware of that, and that's going to be the impetus of this consultant coming in and sort of helping the committee with that. So I don't know, Nancy, is there anything else? If you want to come forward, you can say something else. I'm trying to sum it up as accurately as I can, but.
So I really think the key with bringing a consultant in is it's, like you said, it's a 400-page report. It's very dense. And I think we as a committee tried to really break it down, but we really need another set of eyes or someone to really help articulate what's the plan and how do we know what the 5-year plan is, right? It's FS1 and it's Thurston, but what do we look at 10, 15, and 20 years ahead? And then really just soliciting feedback from the community in those sessions that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly, what she said.
Pretty much what you said.
Any questions about that?
Not so much a question, but just more of a comment that, I think that there is a lot of questions in the community about, what is our plan? We have so many capital needs around town, how can we just keep doing, quote, how can we just keep doing this piecemeal? We need to have like a broader, longer term roadmap for, what is the time frame and kind of the order of operations to address all of these needs? Because it does seem, unfortunately, that a lot of our buildings are kind of coming to the end of their life at the same time, and some are raising their hands up quicker than others. But so we're, I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the Long Range Financial Planning team, and thanks for being a part of it, both of you, and look forward to seeing how this plays out. But I think the more we can communicate this, and that there is a plan, and that we are meeting, and that we are moving this forward in a thoughtful, comprehensive, and collaborative way, the better.
Exactly, and I think the key is that it's a very fluid timeframe, and I mentioned this, I think probably at every meeting, we can identify projects, but one building may fail,
Yeah.
right, sooner than another one. So it just has to be a fluid.
A living document, if you will.
Exactly, and continually updated, not just a one and done, here it is, and then we move on. And I'm sorry that we didn't have a puppy there last
No,
night.
I was going to apologize for inferring that our meeting was not exciting as Math and Literacy
Well, there
Night at
was
Pine
a
Hill.
massive bumblebee, and I think if, like,
We did have the massive bumblebee, yes.
see anyone look up, you'll watch it. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
That's all I have for the chair's update. Anything from other, I think, Joanna, you wanted to talk
I had
about.
a couple, yeah, so we had a really great day. This was March 30th, end of the month. The Massachusetts Association of School Committees, which is, kind of an organization that helps support school committees around the state, had a day on the Hill, and it's a, a day for legislative action. It was my first time attending, and it was really interesting. We met with the Massachusetts Association of School Committees president and some of their officers. We had a wonderful conversation with Representative Paul McMurtry. He took a lot of time, very gracious with his time to meet with our two students. We have the blonde on the right is Avery Herlihy, and on the left is Mila Mandeville, and they have interest in going into law or going into government. So it was a really great conversation and an opportunity for them to see the State House for the first time. And also for us to share directly with our representatives some of the concerns that we have or some of the challenges that we're facing. We talked a lot about increasing the circuit breaker program from 75% to 90%. That is something that we can take action on before July 1 because they are voting on the new budget, which has pending legislation about this before them. So the act of making appropriations for FY27 is before the House for approval, and some of the things that we can influence include like the circuit breaker program reimbursement rate. And then there was also conversation about fixing the inflation calculator on Chapter 70 funding. and also establishing a minimum aid of $150 per student. Also a greater reimbursement for transportation costs and reviewing the transportation bidding process. And then also fully funding the METCO program to $35 million. So we had a great conversation. We also talked about Thurston, and we also talked a little bit about FS1. So he's, you know, he himself is very informed and involved and aware of the challenges we're facing. It was great to hear the students share their perspective directly of being students at Thurston and having gone through Thurston themselves. So it was just really a great day all around. And I'm just grateful for the representative for sharing his time. Senator Rush was not able to meet with us. He was in meetings that day, but he did have a representative come down and say hello. And all of our students received like this little like certificate of, you know, spending the day together. So it was just fun. We had a great time.
Nice.
Great.
Great.
Yeah. I do have one more thing and possibly a question. The PTO forum that we were supposed to have this week, we had to reschedule, so we'll look to do that in May. Thanks, Tim, for helping to make that happen. And then finally, I was wondering, Tim, if you could share an update on the Community Culture Coalition. I don't mean to cold call you on that, but
Yeah, no.
I've had a couple of folks ask that they had raised their hand to be a part of it, and they weren't sure what comes next.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm just pulling up. So we are in a planning phase right now. I think the plan is that this is gonna be on the agenda for our May meeting to talk
Okay.
about further. I'm just trying to, Latifa Frank out of our office is the one who is leading the efforts. Latifa's unfortunately not able to be here this evening. The first full coalition meeting will be scheduled in May of 2026. The planning phase is a smaller group of self-identified individuals meeting at least twice over the next month that's going to be reviewing our problem of practice and finalizing our theories of action that will guide the coalition's work. And then there'll be some specific committees formed and active during the summer months so we can be ready for implementation in the fall. So that's the very broad-based
Great.
overview, but we'll have more to say at our May meeting.
Okay, great. No, I had a couple of community members asking, you know, what, if anything, they should be doing right now about that. So thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything, chair update, but I just wanted to give a shout out to the Thurston Middle School Theater Group. I had the opportunity to go to Matilda over the weekend and was blown away. It was so well done, and it was just, I'm so happy for all the students, and they all look so genuinely happy, and they were so talented, and the singing, it was just awesome. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those students.
Great, yeah, that got rave reviews.
It was great.
It was great. And the teachers who helped
Yeah,
make it all happen.
it's true.
It's incredible.
I can't imagine all the time they commit.
So much time.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Okay, so we're moving to public participation. So we're going to do this in two parts today because we have to have a public hearing regarding school choice. So we're going to do that public hearing first, and then we'll close that public hearing, and then we'll open it up for general public participation. So school choice, do you want to explain a little what school choice is?
I mean, the committee has the same memo that we've basically written each year. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12B, districts are required to vote annually about participation in school choice. The vote here is whether or not Westwood is accepting non-resident students through the school choice program through a lottery system. This is sometimes applicable for districts. The funding hasn't been increased for receiving school choice students in a couple of decades, I think. It's capped at $5,000 a student. If districts have room, there may be a budgetary advantage. It's my opinion, it's not the case. Westwood has not been a school choice district. So it'd be my recommendation we continue to not participate in school choice, but the committee has to take a vote annually after a formal public hearing on school choice. So that's the context about this.
So I'm going to open the public hearing for school choice. If there's anyone who wants to come and speak specifically to school choice, now is your moment. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public participation.
Do we actually need to vote to open
I was
and close
thinking
it?
I might.
Yeah.
Do I need to vote to open it?
I think you probably need to vote to open the public hearing and then, yeah,
Can I
sorry.
get a motion to open the public hearing regarding school choice?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, once again, if there's anyone who wants to come speak on school choice, please step down. Seeing no one, can I get a motion to close the public hearing on school choice?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Okay. Now I'm going to open it up to public participation. So if anybody would like to come down and speak on anything, you are welcome. We just remind you, it's not a back and forth session, so we're happy to hear your thoughts, but it's not a back and forth. We ask you give your name, your address, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Come on.
Hi. Beth O'Malley, 43 Greenacre Road, Westwood. Good evening, Superintendent Pivovar, school committee members, administrators, teachers, and parents. I'm a parent of Claire, currently in 3rd grade at Sheehan, and Zoe, who will be there in just another 2 years. I'm here to speak for the Sheehan community regarding the district's recent MSBA application. While no final decision has been made, there is much we risk losing if Sheehan were to close as part of a move to a 5 to 8 middle school model, option 6 of the plan. I recognize the complexity of your work. Planning for the future of our schools isn't easy, and I'm grateful for the thought you're putting in. I come from a family that really values public education and community. My own mom was a school librarian at my neighborhood school. I didn't grow up in a district with abundant resources, but we had dedicated teachers and a strong sense of community. That sense of belonging, knowing and growing up with your classmates, your teachers, your neighborhood, shaped who I am. It gave me stability, confidence, and a foundation for success. That's what I see at Sheehan. It's not just a building. It's a true neighborhood school where kids walk together every day, where they know each other and are known. Families are connected. Staff like Mrs. Irwin greet every parent and child with warmth, making them feel like they belong. Our teachers are exceptional. They're a cohesive team invested in the academic and emotional growth of their students. They work in lockstep to build confidence, resilience, and independence. Claire's teachers have helped her see she's capable of doing hard things. Her reading teacher in particular has strengthened her confidence and love of learning that has changed how she sees herself. These moments happen because she and educators know our children and our families. But this isn't just about my family, it's about whether we preserve the kind of elementary school experience families like us chose Westwood for. Even if grade 5 moves to the middle school, projections show elementary schools are near capacity, with limited space even at Pine Hill. Closing Sheehan will require trade-offs across all elementary schools in class size and organization. So before any decision is made, I encourage you to develop a working group to ensure options-preserving neighborhood elementary communities are explored. Neighborhood schools provide continuity and belonging. They foster academic risk-taking and create a sense of responsibility to one another. Closing Sheehan would not just move students and teachers. It would break apart long-standing community networks that have been built over decades. I'm a CPA. I understand fiscal responsibility and facilities planning. But in solving one challenge, could we be weakening the conditions that support student success? The district's own portrait of a graduate calls for students who think critically, collaborate, and engage in their communities. These aren't abstract goals. They are built in places like Sheehan and should continue to be. Because Sheehan is not just where children go to learn or where teachers go to work. It's where they belong, and that's worth protecting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward?
Can only do once in a meeting.
Now I gotta warm up. Nancy James, 158 Oak Street. So I want to thank you, Amanda, for the lead-in about Matilda, because I'm here to express my sincere appreciation for the commitment that the district has to performing arts. My daughter participated in the production of Matilda, and I just wanted to say that, so not every child wants the lead role, right? Like some just maybe want a minor part, and I felt like Ms. Cosmini, Ms. Walsh, like they really try to meet kids where they are. And then there are kids who don't want to be on stage at all, but they want to be, you know, part of the crew. And it was amazing for me to see how everyone like really just pulls together to make it happen. You know, so again, the performance was outstanding, but it was really, you know, the teachers, Ms. Legere on the, with the orchestra as well. So it was just, I volunteered one day and it was just great to see everybody, just to see all the kids kind of come together and, you know, support each other. So again, thank you so much for the commitment.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nancy. Anyone else? Okay, I will close public participation at this time, and we will move into discussion item.
Yeah, and what I would say is, it's not necessarily the, again, I don't mean to degrade the conversation. It's probably not the most exciting discussion item we've had. But the committee.
Topics are getting
the-
a lot of heat today, just say.
The committee does need to approve non-bargaining salary rates. I do want to acknowledge that the memo you have does not include substitute rates. One of the things that we wanted to do is, in order to make sure that we remain competitive in the market, we know that other districts are doing some of their approvals right now. We'd like to know where we stand. And so we're doing some comp analysis from other districts. And so we'll come to you with a rate for our May meeting. So we're intentionally not including that in this memo, but we will come back with it later. But Lama, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you. So every year I make some recommendations for non-bargaining employee groups, and basically the cost of living increases that are recommended for those employees. And this year, again, I'm making those recommendations. The recommendations this year are very similar to what you saw last year. So for the most part, it is a 3% increase. With extended day, it is a little bit more conservative, and that's done in conversation with Michael Fagone and in thinking about his ability to hire. So I did consult with him, talk to him about whether he's had any challenges with hiring, where he thinks his budget is standing, and I reviewed the current balances in the extended day account, and we looked at pressure points in expenditures there. There have been some cost increases, not surprising perhaps, but in supplies and in contracted services for extended day. So taking all of that into account and hearing from him that he was not having trouble hiring, and that in fact we continue to be quite competitive as relative to other neighboring towns, he thinks a 2.5 was an appropriate increase for this year. So that's the recommendation for extended day. And for the others, you may remember that we increased Prodigy tuition. So our Prodigy instructors are actually below market, and we made a bigger change last year in increasing their pay rates, but we have specifically raised tuition to cover that 3% that we're recommending for Prodigy, so that over multiple years we are more competitive in terms of recruiting Prodigy instructors for music classes for students after school. And for our other employees, the increases here are in line with what we are seeing in our comparable bargaining units. So to be fair to those employees, that is the recommendation that I'm making. And as Tim forecasted, we will want to take some more time to consider substitute rates, specifically per diem substitutes and long-term subs. What I'd like is just a little bit more time to do some market analysis and to think about any creative measures we can try to implement to incentivize staff to take our openings and or to give us more days, potentially to return to the Westwood schools, not only once, but frequently, especially if they are staff that we find are serving our students well. So that's the goal with the substitute rates, so we have to be thoughtful about that, and we'll come back in the May meeting.
So for the Prodigy instructors, is this 3% increase now getting us to market, or are we still below?
We were certainly below before.
remember.
I think we are probably still slightly below, but it's a staggered approach because we didn't want to raise tuition too quickly on families.
Yeah.
So we made a bigger increase. I believe last year's increase was about an 8% for the Prodigy instructors. And then this year, 3%, and we have another 3% next year kind of assumed. And we've adjusted tuition to be able to cover that. Next year is the final year of the tuition increases that the school committee has already voted. So then we'll come back to you with another market study to assess whether we've become more competitive at that point.
Okay. Anything on these? This is our one discussion item. Okay. Well, moving to action items. Can I get a motion to approve the non-bargaining salary rates set forth in the memo?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, unanimous. Joanna, I think you have a vote for us for the school choice.
Whereas, hang on, guys, just buckle up.
Yeah.
Whereas the Educational Reform Act of 1993 requires that the enrollment of non-resident students under the school choice provision, unless the committee votes by June 1 not to participate, and whereas the school choice provision reallocates funds from the sending district and awards such funds to the receiving district, and whereas the maximum reimbursement allowed by the school choice provision is less than Westwood's full per pupil expenditure, which means Westwood Public Schools would be required to subsidize each choice student, and whereas once Westwood accepts the choice student, Westwood must keep such student through graduation, regardless of whether Westwood's demographic situation has changed, and whereas it is likely that the number of students who will return to their sending districts or otherwise leave Westwood, thus creating a potential income loss, now here be it resolved that the Westwood School Committee respectfully declines to participate in the school choice program, provided, however, that if surrounding school districts subsequently and prior to June 1 decide to accept the provisions of school choice, the Westwood School Committee reserves the right to do likewise in order to protect its fiduciary interests in the matter.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, I have to do a roll call vote. Amanda,
Yes.
Tony,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes?
and I am a yes, unanimous. Can I get a motion to approve the March 18th, 2026 executive session public minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. I didn't see a scholarship. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. We have a new scholarship. So do you want to
Yeah,
tell us
sure.
about that?
So this is the Westwood Gridiron Club Scholarship that is to recognize a senior who participated in football and embodies the gridiron spirit, leads by example with a tireless work ethic, and demonstrates an unwavering commitment to the team. The student athlete performs the, quote, gritty work behind the scenes that often goes unnoticed in the box score, but is vital to the team's performance and overall success. A student who never stops working to improve and who cares more about the team, cares about his team more than himself. This player has shown examples on and off the field of leadership, respect, and brings an overall positive energy to the program.
Great. That's a great scholarship. Can I get a motion to approve the Westwood Gridiron Club Scholarship?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. And finally, can I get a vote to approve the March 19th, 2026 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Great, that's unanimous. So moving on to new business, I have a piece of new, well, sort of, it's really last business. Today is Amanda's last school committee meeting with us. Amanda was elected in 2020, the infamous year, and joined us during COVID, which I'm sure you didn't anticipate when you pulled your papers in January.
Definitely didn't.
And clearly it was trial by fire, and you absolutely did exceedingly well. I can't believe you're still here after that intro. That was tough. And since you've been on this committee, you have made a tremendous impact. Specifically, you were part of that policy review committee.
I can't believe I came back after that.
But that was super helpful. The gun safety event that you organized, that was great, really informative. You were instrumental in the cell phone policy, and that's just 3 specific things. Really, you've just, you have a calm demeanor and your insightful comments, and both of those have made you just an invaluable board member. I feel very lucky to have worked with you and I'm now able to call you my friend.
Thank you.
You'll be missed tremendously by me. I think I can speak for everyone, by the board, by the administration. And I really just want to thank you for 6 years of amazing service. And we will properly celebrate later. But I just wanted to publicly thank you for your service. So thank you very much. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say.
I don't know. You were fabulous. I loved running with you when we ran.
That was fun.
I'm so sad to see you go. But thanks for being a great colleague and answering what does this mean? What do we do now? How do I do this? What comes next? Many, many phone calls, and I appreciate you and all of your help and your leadership and your mentorship for me personally. Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm going to miss you, of course, as well.
I think we're friends. But
We'll
I,
test it.
I think
Yeah.
when I actually first met you, I don't know if you remember, you were fighting for safety of kids at MMO. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember that.
gosh, yes.
I remember a tense meeting, a feisty meeting at
Oh,
it wasn't the Gillette room at the time, but at the police station. But I think about that time because that was just you advocating what we felt was right for kids. And for the 6 years, you've never gone away from that. You've really been committed to the kids, which is, I think, the biggest testament to you and your service of the school committee. So you're always welcome back.
Thank you all. I jinxed myself when I said I wasn't going to cry, and I'm really not going to, but this is bittersweet, and it's been like such an honor and privilege to serve on this committee. I made new friends. I learned so much. I'm so proud of everything that we accomplished, and just thank you all for like your mentorship, your leadership. I learned from each and every person at this table, and I think the community is so much better for all of you. So I'm excited to see kind of the next few years, how everything plays out, and I'm here to support in any way I can. So thank you all.
Thank you. One more time. All right, is there any other new business? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are done. Fastest meeting in history. Thank you,
47 minutes,
everybody.
that was pretty good.
I know, right?